And good morning, everybody, and welcome to the Coming Home to You network. I have the lovely Nancy Regan with me, and she's a wellness coach, and she's going to tell you all about how you can better yourself. So, Nancy, tell me, for people who don't know you, describe what it is that you do.
So, what I do, and I have done this through my own work, is that I help you rediscover your true self by connecting back to the natural world, bringing peace back into your life, allowing all the pieces to come together of your authentic self so you can let go of what no longer serves you and allowing you to finally live the way you were meant to be, which is from the inside out, where your true self is.
Lovely, that sounds brilliant. And who would your ideal client be, Nancy?
So I work with women 40 plus, and they are women who are struggling emotionally with that emotional baggage. It's all those fear-based insecurities, stress, anxiety, self-doubt, lack of self-worth, self-acceptance, lack of self-love, things that I struggled with for years, literally 40 years. I lived in that fear-based insecurities, not believing that I was enough until I started doing the inner work and connecting with nature was my key. I want to say that was sort of an awakening. I like to use the word awakening or a little aha moment. And that's why I connect nature with women to bring them back to their wholeness.
Yeah, and it's so important that to be aware of nature and our surroundings. So how does that look like when you're working with somebody? Because it can sound people listening, working with nature, what do you really mean by that?
Yeah,
If
yeah,
it, yeah,
absolutely. And I just have to say, I love your background. There's a beautiful scene of mountains and snow. Like, I love snow. It's like my favorite time of the year because it's so peaceful and quiet. Not many people venture out during that time. But so I will say that if clients are local, I'm in Massachusetts, the United States. I do have some local clients. Of course, the majority of my clients are on, Zoom, internet, and around the world. But we still can connect with nature. And what happens, I like to describe it as you're carrying all this baggage, which is all your emotional insecurities. Again, I already went through self-doubt, lack of self-love, self-acceptance, things like that, stress, anxiety, worry, depression. And literally, when you hit that trail, it's like a regeneration. Okay, I like to say, so all that negative self-talk that you have, it's like it's being filtered out into the ground, into the universe. You're being re-energized and it's being filtered back in or recycled with positivity. Your mind calms, your entire nervous system has become harmonious, which we know that can affect your health if you don't keep that in check. Um, and you're able to connect more with yourself outdoors. Now, I like to say, even people in cities, because they're like, okay, where's a trail? Where am I going to be able to go in a city? You don't even have to be in the woods if you want to say the forest. If there's a tree, a quiet place, even flowers around, we have Boston that's not too far away, and it's a beautiful Rose Kennedy Parkway, and you can sit there and it's so tranquil. There's water, you can hear the water noise. It's like a meditative, right? If you've ever been in the city, even in this areas, it's so meditative and it just calms everything and allows you to hear yourself, which is your heart center, and to calm everything. Because until we can calm everything, we can't hear anything. It's like all this chaos is going around us.
yeah, it's so important. And of course, like I said, there are green spaces everywhere. In this day and age, people have become so insulated from nature. You know, we're living in a home which is insulated. We're wearing shoes which are disconnecting us from the earth, and it's
Mhm.
really causing such a disconnect. But we are nature. Nature's part of us, and we are part of nature.
Correct. And I'm glad you said that because people don't realize that we are nature. And I always say it's the best medicine. Step
Yeah.
outside, and I can tell you. So I'm just going to go back quickly. I worked for a community college and I started a hiking club because I never realized that so many people suffered from anxiety, stress, depression, panic attacks. And I knew what it did for me. So when we were outside hiking, we used to do biweekly hikes. I would have these students ranging from 15 all the way to 60 plus. This was a community college. They would say, "Why do I feel so good? I don't feel stressed. I feel good, like everything's melted away." And that's what's happened because we belong in that natural world. And listen, we can't live out there, right? We have to go to work, we have things we have to do, but it's making sure you're taking the time to connect, even if it's for 10 minutes. Where I work, of course, there's parking lot, but there are trees and things like that. And it's actually rock walls. I go out there and I sit out there during my lunch break. I'll bring a book. Sometimes I just sit in no book, nothing. And I just let that energy and the air, feel that breeze on my face. And that you probably know that trees give off a chemical, which is a calming chemical, phytocidons, and it is a calming chemical. And then when your feet are on the ground, I've done that before, taking my shoes off, just put them down, and again, recharge, re-energize ourselves.
Yeah, it's so important. I've always noticed with myself, if typically in the summertime, I like to spend some time on the beach and in the ocean.
Mm.
And I
Yep.
find that there have been years where I haven't at that time. And come the winter, I'm feeling off, like there's something missing.
Mhm.
And if I look back, I realize, yeah, I haven't been to the beach this year. I haven't been in the ocean. And it really affects me something fierce. So there's probably a lot of situations, a lot of examples like that that you could talk about with people that they might not be aware of it's that they're missing their nature. If you could talk about that for a little while, that'd be great.
Absolutely. And I'm glad, because nature, it's everything. Water, when you mention water, it's purifying. Water is very purifying. Even tears, I tell people they cry. I'm like, oh, I don't want to cry. I'm like, cry. Because I think of that of like washing yourself over when you're in the ocean or in the lake or the pond, because that is cleansing you and again, re-energizing you. So for me, I can tell you, I don't know if you can see or not, but I have, forest around me and everything. But even something as simple, I just want to say, of having plants or being by a window, if you are unable to get outdoors, just simply, again, being by a window, looking outside and seeing the sky and you can, birds, things like that, whatever goes by, that also is a connection to nature. So you don't have to necessarily be, again, in the thick of the woods, be at the ocean, even though it's great to do that. I'm talking about every day when you're at work, all right, and you get all caught up in everything. Take a moment, I like to say, to pause. If you can find a window and just sit there and look out, even on a rainy day. I find actually a rainy day very calming and meditative as well. And just to look out and see and feel, it's not even a see, it's more of a feeling that you get within yourself from being connected with the outdoors. And I just want to say, because people are often like, well, I don't have time, things like that. But it's taking those moments to step away, right? To get up from your desk and even to find a spot if there's no window where you are. I actually don't have a window where I am, so I can go down the hall and there's a big window at the end, if it's raining or something like that. Otherwise, I'm outside. Go for a walk. If you're in the city, wherever you are, even if it's for 5 minutes, that's all it takes, is something very short and brief, but it's about incorporating that every day into your life because it will reset you.
That's it. I heard a great tool before when people are really feeling off is to, especially if they have a garden, is to dig a little hole, put your feet in there, and cover with the soil, and that will really ground you and reconnect you to the earth. And if you can do that once a week, even for 10 or 15 minutes, to reset the body. Are there any other tools like that that you might be aware of?
So you bring up the gardening. So in gardening, if you like being outdoors, again, plant something in there, in the ground, just have your hands in there. It's feeling the soil, as you said. So if I want to give you some tools, take your shoes off. If you're in the city, wherever you are, where there is grass, and you can just stand there. And I like to close my eyes. I just find that I connect more with myself when I close my eyes. Try doing that and just feeling. It's not, because you're going to feel sensations. You will actually feel that energy because everything's going to come. Again, like I said, your mind and your whole nervous system be more harmonious when you do that. But also sitting under a tree. If you can find a tree just to sit there again and take some time. I close my eyes, even take a couple of breaths, because again, air, that's life for us. And that is also connecting because, of course, we have oxygen that's giving off by the trees, right? And so it recycles again, and we keep the trees alive by us, breathing out. So connect that way as well. Bike riding, like anything that you can do outdoors, even if you're inside, or if you can see a little plant behind me, just repotting something like that. You're touching the soil, you're touching life. It's life. And that there can energize you. So if you love plants and you're in an apartment in New York City or, Sydney, if you have some on a deck or in a window, you are connecting there with that as well, that earth and that life that can rejuvenate both you and that plant. You've probably heard that talking to plants actually helps them grow. So I've been meditating for many years. I have a plant that I used to use as a focal point. I still use that plant. It was probably yay big. It is like yay big. It's sprouting everywhere because it's part of my meditation. And even though I'm not talking, it is hearing that energy, what's going on.
And of course, that's the other thing about getting in touch with nature and getting out in nature, is that you realize you become more conscious of the food that you put into your body. And not only that, but how you are, how you show up as a human being, how it's all connected. But especially food, becoming more conscious of one, where your food comes from, and making sure that it is food, because there's so much stuff out there nowadays that's called food, which looks like food, but that's it. That's the only similarity. So
Yeah,
if you'd like to talk about that and that connection.
absolutely. So food is so important. We know the connection. So self-talk, okay, which the majority of us, I just want to say there's been a study, which I could not believe, 95% of our thoughts are from yesterday. And of those, 80% are of lack, fear-based, just negative talk that we keep repeating. And we do this every day. I mean, 80% of negativity. When we talk like that, it affects our physical health as well as what you feed your body affects your mental health. And it's so important to connect those both. And it's about feeling. So I like to say also, when you're out in nature, to feel what is your, stop going to the mind and feel. The more you can be outdoors, and again, it calms everything, so it allows you to feel what's going on. Feel what it is like having a fresh pepper, right? Onions, beans, all that, and the difference from a garden, organic garden, opposed to having that ring ding or that cake or whatever that gives us, right, that dopamine hit. That's the thing with junk food or processed food. It gives us a dopamine hit. And so we keep going back because it's a very short-lived but feel-good moment, right? But the same can happen when you're having good organic food. And
Yeah.
right, that fresh, that soil, the earth. I used to have a garden. I will say I don't right now just because I'm so busy between my business and everything else. But I absolutely go to farm stands here. We have lots of them around. And you know where it's coming from. You know what is in the soil. It's not this mass production, but it is so important to remember the connection, again, for your overall health. What we say to us affects our physical health, and what we eat affects our mental health. It's one big cycle. And when you can discover that, as you brought up, then you can see where a lot of issues are coming up for yourself, why you're feeling the way you are, because you're not eating nutritionally. And because I know I'll even do this periodically still sometimes, and I catch myself that you're talking lack, fear-based insecurities to yourself.
Yeah, and that's it. And that's such an important point, is what's the first thing we do when we get up in the morning time? Is it that self-talk that we're listening to?
Mhm.
Or what would you suggest that people do when they get up?
So two things, morning and at night, that I suggest is so you can either, I like to do it when you go to bed because it actually helps you to go to sleep, is actually breath work. So I do work with clients on that. When you're laying in bed, take your hands, you can put them either on your solar plexus, which is right below your navel. Okay, or you can put them on your heart center, obviously your heart. And I like to put my hands there and just actually take some deep breaths. Again, close your eyes and just keep doing that until you finally, or I should say, yeah, you finally, but you realize you're just slowly lulling into a sleep and your breath will slow because you are calming everything. So when you go to bed, you have 50 million things going through your head. And so this way it will just calm everything. And when you breathe, it's breathing through the diaphragm. So the diaphragm is, again, right, if you take your hands, they're right below your rib cage, and try to breathe like that. It's like blowing your belly up as a large balloon, and you'll feel that air going into your lungs more because we are shallow breathers. So try to notice that as well, but take some just deep breaths when you're laying in bed and close your eyes. And another thing I'll say before you go to bed, I like to call a brain dump. So just take a piece of paper and write, I don't care what word it is, just write any words that come to your mind. Just keep writing them down and then go to bed, then do that breath work, that breathing. The same thing before you get out of bed in the morning, just lay there, even for a minute, start breathing and just feel, what do you feel? What's going on within your body? The more you do that, you can recognize the different things that you need, right? Because our body talks to us all the time. We're just not listening because we're listening up here because this is doing like screaming. But if you're able to calm your mind, which you can over time, just listen. What does your body need?
This is brilliant. I hope everybody's out there taking notes now. You're giving some wonderful advice. And as you pointed out, everything is in a circle. Everything
Mm-hmm.
goes full circle. That
Mm-hmm.
we're all connected, nature. And I suppose with nature as well, we're talking about that can also bring in animals and how important animals can be in our
Oh,
life.
huge. So I am a huge animal advocate. I've actually was in animal rescue for 13 years. That's where, so I'm an empath. That's where I became, well, during childhood, I became an empath. That's a long story, but I actually have 5 animals, 2 rescue dogs and 3 cats. And they bring such a sense of love because we can't give ourselves that love that we should unless you learn and connect with your authentic self and a whole process. But regardless, they are unconditional love. They are there when you're sick, when you're unhappy, when you're happy. Just a petting of a dog or a cat, even seeing the animal, it can be even any wildlife. Doesn't even have to be a cat or dog, but any wildlife, it's life and that energy that's around you because they give this loving energy off. And it's very important. I can tell you from my own experience, I can't imagine my life without animals. I've had animals for 37 years in my life. It's a long time, and it's incredible. It's yeah, they're self-sacrificing. It's unbelievable. They would do anything for you, anything. And I think for me, and in general, they're like a mirror because they have this unconditional love for you. And if you can really look at them, you can learn how to have that unconditional love for yourself.
Yeah. And so important. And as with a lot of things, we always come back to that one word, love,
Hmm.
love and connection.
Yeah. It is
Yeah.
all about that. It's in a nature. So I just want to tell you my story, if you don't mind, quickly.
Please do.
So where I got here as a wellness coach, never in a million years did I imagine I'd be here. But I actually started my journey when I was 10. I came from a family of 4, and then both my parents, but my mother suffered from depression. And at the age of 10, I became her counselor. She'd always, of course, with depression, there's different moods and things like that. It's like a roller coaster up and down. And I had to learn how to read that. And that's how I also started my path to becoming an empath, is knowing how to keep things calm. But she'd always, if you want to say, pour out what was going on with her. But my saving grace was nature. I was outside riding my bike still. I was walking in the woods. I was climbing trees. And that's where things had balanced out for me. And later in life, I did not realize this until I was 40, that's how I ended up where I am because of that. That was my journey, the beginning of me becoming a wellness coach. And I just want to say that the depression was something happened to my mother as a child that she carried until she passed away at 84 years old. Her entire life, she had this emotional baggage that she could not let go of. And that's one of the things when I try to help women, or I do help women, I shouldn't say try, but help women to reconnect with themselves and let go of those past stories, that past hurt, and heal themselves. Because we have stories that we make up and belief systems about ourselves based on those experiences. And that was an awakening or an aha moment for me to learn what happened with my mother. And I thought, how horrible of that suffering. But I also saw that connectedness. Here I was a therapist at that time at 10 years old, but how nature kept me balanced during that time. And so that's when I integrated both of these, helping women, again, disconnect from their untrue, not true self, and to connect with nature, because it does bring us back to who we are. And it's all about, like you did say, love and connecting and living life from the inside out, where we live life from the outside in. We're looking for everything on the outside to solve our problems, but they don't. They don't. It's
Yeah,
all in here. And
it's all an inside job. And that's the one thing too. God, I lost my train of thought there. The thing about, if we can realize or train ourselves to what's in the past is gone,
Mhm,
to learn from it and to move on, and to take every day as a new day, a new opportunity
mhm,
to be the person that we want to be,
mhm.
rather than bringing back our old story and
Right.
bringing back all this luggage with us. We can just let that go. Is there any advice that you can give to people, or any little tools that might them might make people more aware of that, or to help them to drop the baggage?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, of course, nature. We've already talked about nature. That's the number one for me for calming, meditation, breath work, journaling. But the key is in all of this, disconnecting from all the electronic devices, have quiet. Surround yourself. You don't have to even be outdoors. If you have a room within your house where it's just quiet, I like again to close my eyes. I tell clients, close your eyes and just feel. Your mind's gonna, sorry, your mind's gonna be going again, crazy. But after a few times, your mind will start slowing. And when it starts slowing, feel what you're feeling after you are done. I suggest starting out very slow, like 5 minutes, and try to build up from there. And then after, journal, write down, it's a sentence, a word, what's going on? What are you feeling? So let me give you an instance. If you're stressed, okay, once you can calm down, feel, why am I stressed? Why? Okay. Was it something that happened at work? Was it something that happened 2 years ago? Go back to that situation. We want to get to the root cause of the problem, because all we do is throw band-aids on things. So this will help you get to the root cause, going through step by step. How do I feel? Where does it come from? What can I do about it? Is it a true story, or is it something that I made up to feel better about myself? Right? So we push all this stuff down because we don't want to feel pain. That's one of the things that's tough, is people don't want to feel any adverse effects, right? Nothing. They want everything to be status quo. But in order to heal and to move on, you have to feel a bit of pain. But that pain is going to be your freedom. That baggage is going to drop like that as soon as you start going back and finding that root cause of that issue and working past that.
Yeah, and of course, that's the thing. I suppose that the cave we fear to enter is the one that holds everything, and there's so many misconceptions about so-called negative things. We live in a world of duality, in, out, left, right, and as with us, there's there's good and there's bad. There's happy and there's sad, and we can't be one without the other. It's the opposite end of the coin.
Right. You can't grow, Declan. You cannot grow without those, if you want to call them negative experiences. The thing
Mm,
is we label them.
yes,
It's raining outside. I don't like it. So you just label that negative. Okay.
exactly.
It's sunny. I'm happy. Yay, this is great. You know, we are the ones, and as soon as we start labeling, that's the good or bad.
Yeah,
But life, I like to call it the ladder, the rung. Every experience that you have is a learning experience. It took me
true.
the 40 years to figure that out, you know, and I'm sure everyone's like, why me? Why is this happening? This keeps happening. If it keeps happening, it's a pattern because you haven't learned. Stop and look. What can you learn from that experience? Because every experience is something to gain. How can you change something the next time?
That's it. And like you said, it's all perception. It's
Hmm.
only good or bad unless you make it so.
Right.
And up until then, it's just is. The it's always interesting too that um, learning experiences that people don't always see it as that. When they're going through something which they might consider bad or those same patterns.
Right.
Uh,
And it's hard. And I do just want to say, we all know there are some horrific things that people experience in life. Horrific. I don't know why some people have to experience those. I don't know. But I still believe there is learning moments. So I just want to tell you something that my cousin, this was back in the 70s, he was heavily into drugs. He was down and out, and it took him a few years. But if again, he ended up flipping. Something happened, and he all of a sudden, it was like an aha, like, what am I doing? Oh my gosh. And it was again, went back to something that happened to him. He went to an outside source to make himself feel better. But he learned something from that horrific experience of being a drug addict. He's now a minister.
okay.
Totally, it's like from one extreme to the next, total. And
Yeah,
I
yeah,
was
yeah.
like, wow. But you know what? He learned something. And the thing is that when you're going through that, and I know it's hard, but if you again can pause and write down what's happening, what can I learn from this? And it's the
Yeah.
smallest thing, an argument with somebody, a loss of a job. What can you learn from that? And a lot of times it may be something better. Say the loss of the job, it's because maybe you're not meant there. You have something better that's going to come. You just can't see that.
That's exactly it. And like I said, it's all about asking the right questions and knowing that all is in divine order, that everything
Oh,
happens for a reason. We
hmm,
just need to look a little bit closer, maybe
hmm.
sometimes. This is brilliant, brilliant stuff, Nancy, what you're saying. So we've got about 3 minutes left. So is there anything that you'd like to leave people with or questions or to make them discover a bit more, to get more curious about their connection um, with nature, and also how they can reach out to you and how they can contact you for your help
Yes,
with
thank you.
this area.
Absolutely. The one thing I want people to do is when you pause and stop. Now, everything that is going on in your mind, the egoic mind, you're repeating that. It's a hard sell, but you are telling yourself every day, I don't like how I look. I don't make enough money. I'm not pretty enough. I'm too thin. I'm too heavy. You're repeating that because those are those stories that are, again, that you, from your experience, have stored within your mind. And your ego feeds off of that. Your ego cannot survive without those fear-based insecurities. So it needs to keep you in that realm or it can't survive. And we are not our ego. You hear, you're not your thoughts. Well, it's hard to believe when your thoughts keep going and going. How can I not be? But when you identify with the ego, which I did just up until I was 40, until I started doing some inner work on myself, is that you are not that person. You are in here. So when you're saying those things, negative things to yourself, stop for a moment. And I want you to flip that and be like, no, I am perfect, perfectly imperfect, right? They say imperfectly perfect, whatever, because we all are. We're all, I like to say, we're all beautifully unique, and you are. But I want you to flip that with something positive. When you keep doing that each day, your ego's going to be like, oh no, what's going on? I can't handle this. It's going to start slowing down, and you're not going to be repeating that over. But you are the one that's doing that. You are repeating those thoughts that have been recorded from years past. If you want to reach out with me, if you want to transform your life, start living life as your authentic self, free yourself from all the emotional baggage, and connect back with nature, again, which is our home. You can reach out with me at brightpath.net, which is BRITE path.net. I'm on Instagram. Again, Bright Path Health Coaching. I'm on TikTok. I am on LinkedIn, Facebook. You can connect with me on multiple sites. I do guided hikes for women. I do retreats. I do one-on-one programs. I'm starting a group program in the fall. And anything, just get outdoors, please get outdoors. You are going to see how transformational it is for your mind, body, soul, and emotional well-being, because you are meant for so much more.
Lovely, Nancy. That was absolutely brilliant. I'm going to stop the recording now. So everybody listening, please feel free to reach out to Nancy and see how she can help you with becoming your true authentic self. Thank you very much, everybody.
Thank you, Declan.